Hello, in this video we will be reviewing the league management functions within the Steltronic Focus-NEX software. So Steltronic Focus and Focus-NEX both integrate with the CDE software's BLS system. We have the tournament module here. We can open up BLS. We have this sample league that we can work with. Once you have this BLS software up and have your league open and ready to be sent over to the Steltronic software, you can click on Export Rosters to Steltronic Focus, or you can also find this under the weekly Export Rosters, and that will send the league over from the one software program to the other. You can go up to options and change some different options here. This is where you can set the number of minutes of practice. There's other options in there depending on what you would want to set. And we go back to send rosters and we can export to front desk. So click on it, export was successful. We can close this. And now we can go back to the Steltronic software and we can go down to the bottom right and import the league. And here's our league that we just sent over. So we have a sample league. You can click on it. If you had more than one ready to be imported, you can select them all at once. And then we can click on default import. It tells us in this pop-up window that the league was successfully imported. We can click OK. Here we have the sample league, and we can click on it to highlight it and then click on Open Tournament or Sample League, and that brings it up. So now it would bring up your league. In this case, this is a 4-team league. When you click on the teams, it brings up the players on each team. And so you can review everything. You can make sure your lane assignments are correct. The next step would be to send all the teams to the lanes all series. When we click on this button, it's going to send the names out to the lanes. We can go to the lanes manager and confirm it. And here we have it. The lanes have been open and we see there's 4 players on each lane, 120 frames because there was 3 games. If we click on the lane, we can now view the players and start performing some functions on these players or whatever we needed to do. If we go back to the league, it's open already at the top left corner, so we can click on it. Now when the league is ready, you can start practice. This button changes to start bowling after the practice is completed, and you can click on this button, or you can set automation from within the configuration manager to automate the lane starting automatically after practice. So here we have the practice started. If we wanted to, we can simulate like they're already started bowling. I can click this to auto. We started them bowling. I can sign in under my other user, turn these on to demo mode, and simulate that they're bowling here. I can automatically fill in some scores. Now we have some scores in there and we have simulated like the league has completed. We can go back to the league manager, go in here, and the scores will be in the session. So if we go to session summary, we can now see the scores that were brought in for each team, for each game, their totals, team scores. We have players, team detail. You got it ranked by the highest score. per player. You can see the player total, including handicap. You also have their scratch totals. And we have some buttons at the bottom where you can export to Excel. You can preview the active summary. You can preview recap sheets. So you can print some things out there. At the top, we have some buttons for applying a filter. So if we wanted to just show the first game, we can apply that filter. There's no scores in there for the second game, and you can export just the first game scores to Excel, information for the first up to the first game. This comes in handy if you have your own spreadsheet for a tournament or something of that nature. So we can come in there, and now we got all the scores in there for all 3 games. Okay. You can also go to tournament summary, and it'll show you the overall totals and the player rankings. This looks similar, except it doesn't have the detail of each game. So there are some things that you can do there. There's also some other things that you can do within the league management here. For this league, we have tournament info, which has a name. You can also modify the practice time after the fact. You can set some automation. So if you wanted the lanes to close out afterwards, you can do that. There's messages, there's some different options that you have here depending on what you would need to do on this league. If we go to tournament rules, here you can actually change lane assignments. So if you had certain lanes that were not working, you can actually modify which pairs of lanes you wanted to use for this league. Okay. There's also lane movement and different things that are on here as well. And on the rules, it automatically brings over the rules for handicap, for players and teams, and how this is going to be handled. So it'll automatically bring that over from BLS depending on how you set up that league. Under tournament sessions, we also have a quick edit option. So this can be used to come in and correct the spelling of a name, especially at the beginning of a league. You can make any corrections you need to. Same thing with the blind score and averages and handicaps. So you can quickly make changes within this screen. It's just like a spreadsheet view. If we close out, now that the league is completed, we can export the league, sample league, export, select the session, click OK, export the league files. It exported successfully, and we can go to BLS and import the scores. Now when we go into BLS, we can go to import scores from Steltronic Focus. It's searching for the scores, any scores that may be available. And now we have scores are ready to be imported. And we have 2 buttons, import scores during bowling and import scores when finished. It also gives you some information down below, and you can view the details of the import data file if you wanted to. Normally, import scores during bowling would be used, for example, if you're running brackets, you can wait until everybody has completed the first game and then import the scores for the first game. The import scores during bowling can also be used on the last night of league if there's some teams that haven't quite finished yet and you just wanted to see who's in the lead so far. You can import the scores, and then you can also re-import when all the teams have completed. Normally, we would choose the import scores when finished button. When you click on this button, it lets you know if there's anything wrong. Scores are found for week 4. You're currently on week 3. Do you want to move? Yes. It kind of tells you where you're at and what you want to do. So we can click next. Okay. And let us know if it finds anything wrong. So it says, okay, one last time. Copying scores files. Is the event finished so the scores file may be deleted from the front desk computer? And you can click yes. You could always re-export if you needed to. We click OK. Scores are found in the file, and it tells us if there's anything wrong. If there was anything wrong, you can go into the error log and see what it is and address whatever items you need to address. For example, substitute bowlers, or if somebody just overwrote the name of a bowler on a lane, it'll kind of let you know what's going on. We click OK. Now we can go back into enter and correct scores and view the scores that we just imported. And you would just compare these scores here with your recaps and look at your scores at the bottom and your totals, your team totals, and make sure that everything is correct. Once everything is correct, then you can go back into Steltronic. We also have a new wizard, so you could use our software for some smaller tournaments or certain events where you could actually set this up to run that little tournament or event. So you can come in here and just answer the questions. Is this a singles tournament, teams? How many sessions? How many series? Sessions would be how many weeks, okay? Or how many sessions of bowling, okay? Session series is how many series within each week. So typically on a normal league, it's going to be one series of 3 games. So you can change that. You can come in here and set the frequency. How often is this going to take place? And if it's weekly or daily or monthly, whatever the case is, you could also modify how many teams, how many bowlers on each team, and how many active bowlers. You can set if it's cross mode or open play mode. You can set how many minutes for practice and any automation that you wanted to set. At the bottom, you could have a message that flows across the bottom. If we click on next, it's going to allow you to modify the team names. You could select from the list on the side over here if you had team names already in there. You can also choose the player names. And so you would have however many players you assign to each team, you could assign the player names or type them in over here. If we click next, you can select which lanes the teams are going to be on. You select a pair of lanes. Right now I only have 2 teams on this, but I can assign it and you see it puts the lane assignments there. Our software does not have a way of setting lane assignments for an entire league season, so they would have to be manually assigned on there based off of the teams and whatever rotation and schedule you were trying to use there. And you can set different shift methods at the top there. If we click next, then we have rules for handicap. Is this going to be a scratch league or handicap? How do you calculate it? Um, Players' handicaps. Are you going to calculate a player handicap and what is the base average, the percentage, or the above average percentage? And then teams, how is a team handicap going to be calculated? And typically it's the sum of the bowler's handicap. Once this is done, you could save this as a template. You could save players as members. If you wanted to add them to the membership, you can create a reservation or booking, and you can create the tournament. And that would allow you to have this tournament or league or event, whatever you wanted to use this for, set up in the league module. And if we go to play, then it would be listed there. And the singles test is the one that we just added. So there's ways of using our software just from within the actual tournament manager for certain types of events. Going back to the played, if we go to the sample league, there are a few other items that you can do in here as far as adding a player. So if you had a player that was just walking in and was going to substitute on a team, but you did not have him on this league already as a substitute, you can select which team he's going to be subbing for. So I'll say that he's subbing for Boulevard team, and I want to add a player to the team. You could select from the list if he's on here, or you can create a new player. Do you want to create a new player? Yes. We click on that, and it added this player in gray, and we see new player, and we see it's grayed out, but it says substitute right here with the line through it. If we click on where it says new player, we can change the name. So we can come in here, type in the player's name. If we happen to have a handicap and average for this player, maybe he bowls on another league, we can look that information up. We can put that in and can click OK. Now this player is on that team as a sub. If we go to the lanes manager and click on lane 1, which is where that team Boulevard was, I can then come in here and choose a player. Benito Gallio is not going to be here tonight, but they have a substitute for him. So down at the bottom, we can choose the substitute player button. And here's John Smith that I just added. Or if the player has already been on as a sub, you can just choose that player. Sammy the sub is on this list. But for our example, we just added John, and I'm going to make him active. So now I put John there in the third position, and I can hit send to lane, and now that player is going to be on the lane and ready to bowl. If we go back to the leagues, go back to that sample league, you can also remove players. There's players that you can select, and you can highlight the players and then remove the selected team, remove the player. So there's some different things that you can do there. If I close this league out, when we first go to open up the league, you can see here these leagues are color coded in green. At the top here, this green bar says team selections auto, and we have this red question mark. This is kind of like a little legend that tells you in case that there's a condition here, says these teams have already been sent to the lanes, Light blue means that these teams are ready to be sent to the lanes and that the lanes are ready to accept them. Red means the teams cannot be sent to the lanes because the lanes are currently in use. So if you have people bowling on the lanes, you cannot send the league out. Yellow means these teams are currently playing. So once they're already active and starting to bowl, then it's going to be in yellow. Red teams are currently in practice, and green teams have finished their practice. So it gives you some information there. And then gray means that these teams cannot be sent to the lanes due to hardware failure, which means that the lanes are locked due to a mechanical problem. So you would have to either unlock them and send it out there and then transfer that pair of lanes, or you can go up to the tournament rules and reassign what lanes the league is going to be using or these teams are going to be using. So you can just come in here and highlight the lane number and just type in a lane number. So if you wanted to use lane 5 and 6 for this pair of lanes or for this team, you can save it and you can see it move them right over. And now when we go back to the sessions, it shows that they're there, and if this pair of lanes was available, we'd be able to send it over. Another important item, you can go in and check this box and delete the tournament. This deletes it out of the system, and now it's ready for the next week to be imported in. The reason why this is important is because on the side over here, we have sessions. And so this session that we have here is basically saying the week number and the date of this league night. And so if you have more than one session in there, it's going to add another tab here, and each week it'll continue to add tabs onto this, and it could cause confusion for your front desk staff that's sending the leagues out. So making sure that this information is cleared out every week will ensure that there's no confusion, the correct week gets sent out, the correct lane assignments, all of that. If anyone has any questions or you need some help with the leagues, please give us a call. We'll be glad to assist you however we can. Thanks and have a great day.